Hello and welcome to another plus-sized kite review, where today I take a break from kites for a short look at the Orca fins, a fun little accessory you can slap on your board and add a little more heel side grip, and I'll look at how it will affect your session, riding style, and more importantly, boosting potential. To do this review, I slapped these fins on a few different boards to see what effect they would have on each, and rode the boards with different kites in different wind conditions and different kite sizes. I was testing them with my North Atmos Carbon 138 by 41, the Duotone Jaime 139 by 42, and my light wind board, the North Trace 145 by 45. Starting with the Trace board, well, as a light wind board, I didn't find the addition of the larger fins to really do that much. And given the board is somewhat challenging to ride for bigger already, I actually found them unnecessary and a little annoying, as the board is fat enough to do the job with standard fins. So I won't really go into any more detail about riding them with this board. Now, as we get down in the board sizes, and of course the wind picks up over that 20 knot mark, this is where they started to show their worth. They certainly were noticeable, but not a huge overall difference with the Jaime, a board I tend to ride in around 18 to 25 knots because it's still wider and larger than my Atmos. They added a little additional grip, of course, when you are riding quite heel heavy, and they would make the board a little bit more cumbersome to pivot around on the water, but not in a hugely detrimental way, nor in a hugely beneficial way really. So all in all, they didn't really add enough to the experience to justify having them on this board in this wind conditions, especially as they were also a little bit annoying to try to do board offs with, as I don't tend to do my board offs by the handle. I just use the fin because of a torn hip flexor that never really healed correctly. When I'm riding this board, I'm also not really looking to jump super high, so I'm not riding super powered, and I'm a bit more focused on tricks and progression where I don't ride it in very strong conditions. I could certainly see them being beneficial as the wind would ramp up though, and I needed to focus on getting more power. Where the fins shined the most, and I enjoyed using them the most over a normal fin setup, was once the wind got up into the late 20s and above, and I was on the smallest board I have, the Atmos. As you would expect, the additional grip they provide on your hillside edge does allow you to control a noticeable amount more power, and you feel a little bit more locked in as you lean back into them, particularly when preparing to send a big power jump. They are of course harder to maneuver your board around on the water, and it does mean you have to pay a little bit more attention to how you are riding and shifting your weight around, particularly when coming in for landings, where if you're not focused on facing the board nicely downwind, then you can be punished a little bit and catch a weird edge. Landing on them with a slight angle will give you the same feeling as a modern car might, which has a resistant lane control that pushes you back into place more than you're used to, and this can result in messing up your balance if you're coming in hot from a loop or poorly timed heli loop on a jump. If you like your board offs by the fin, they are not the most comfortable feeling under your grip, but as you do it more and more, you do get a bit more used to positioning your hand a little higher on the fin, where it isn't quite as painful or sharp to grip onto. I would still not recommend them for air style riding because of this. That said, I have noticed some pros still using them in nuking conditions and doing a lot of board offs by the fin, so it's not like it's impossible. Where they work the best for me is to better help you control yourself at speed with a stronger edge when powered, and I think a lot of progressing senders will benefit from them here, as they should help overcome some deficiencies in balance and edge control. I don't think I would personally continue to ride them in most of my sessions where I am looking to go out and work on tricks, but I am really looking forward to slapping them on my board every time the wind is getting up over 35 to 40 knots. And I'm getting out my smallest kites, and I'm not particularly looking to do anything but big straight loops and try to hit some big surfer scores, because that's where they will shine for me personally. So I would probably recommend these fins to any rider for those sessions where they aren't as worried about working on their technical trick skills, but are looking to get a little bit more control when riding powered, and hopefully set some new height PBs. I especially think this would be helpful to riders who, when they tend to struggle to hold power in their edge, often find they have a tendency to jump a bit more outwards and downwind as opposed to vertically as they should be trying to get more jump height. Jumping more vertically is also a key skill riders need to learn to progress with their kite loops. So they might be quite beneficial in learning that key skill, although you might also find you catch a little bit more resistance coming in from those hot jumps and loops where you haven't quite got the timing right with your catch, of course. I will warn you that at first you're going to feel a bit strange on your board, but once you get used to them, you're likely to appreciate the ability to control just a little bit more power than usual, and hopefully that's going to translate to some cleaner, more consistent takeoffs, more vertical jumps, and new height PBs. I'll try to remember to post some more stories on my Instagram to show when it's super windy and I'm going out on the fins again, so be sure to follow me at Jason of Montreal for continued updates. Thanks again for making it this far. As always, throw any questions you have, or let me know about your experiences with these or any other similar products worth trying in the comments. And until next time, goodbye.